Hi everyone, welcome to the EduAvenues TJ Test Prep YouTube channel. Through our YouTube videos, we hope students gain a better understanding of how to approach and solve different types of math problems seen on the TJ problem solving exam. Even if you got the problem right, watch this video as you can learn helpful problem solving strategies that you can then apply to other problems. If you want to learn more about our services, visit tjtestprep.com. Today, we will be going over the real math and science problem-solving essay from the 2019 TJ admissions test. Again, this is the actual essay prompt for the TJ admissions test, which was administered on January 29th, 2019. Before doing anything else, please watch the following video to get a better understanding of how to use dimensional analysis and unit conversions. The links are in the description as well. This prompt deals with large numbers, so consider using commas in their appropriate places and scratch paper to solve the problem efficiently. You can also consider taking out some of the zeros to solve the problem initially and then adding them back in later. This underscores why it's so important to double check your work at the end if you have extra time. So the question is, the Chesapeake Bay holds about 18 trillion gallons of water. The bay covers about 4,480 square miles or 2,867,200 acres. For working with this problem, you can round to 3 million. Each acre can hold 750,000 oysters. Each oyster can filter 50 gallons of water every day. Can there be enough oysters to filter the whole Chesapeake Bay in one day? Well, pause the video now and try and solve this problem on your own before we go over it together. Alright, before we solve this problem, we can first start by creating a framework. Given that we know the number of acres and the number of oysters per each acre, we can first solve for the total number of oysters in the lake. So for step 2, with the total number of oysters in the lake, we can find how much water is filtered using basic multiplication in gallons. And for step 3, we can compare the value from step 2 to 18 trillion gallons, which is the size of the lake, and determine is it higher or is it lower, and that would tell us whether or not the oysters can filter the whole lake. And lastly, for step 4, we can discuss any assumptions. And these are basically contextual elements that we can discuss to strengthen our understanding of our analysis. The first step is to determine how many oysters are in the Chesapeake Bay in total. From the prompt, we know that the Chesapeake Bay covers 3 million acres and that each acre contains 750,000 oysters. We can use these details to find the number of oysters in the bay. So the total number of oysters would equal the number of acres multiplied by the number of oysters in each acre. So if we substitute each value, we would get 3 million times 750,000. Upon multiplying this expression, our final answer would remain as 2.25 trillion oysters. And this would be the total number of oysters in the total 3 million acres. So the next step is to find the amount of water that is filtered per day. Given that each oyster can filter 50 gallons and that there are 2.25 trillion oysters, which was found in the previous step, we can now find how much water is filtered per day. To accomplish this, we would first need to multiply the number of oysters by the number of gallons each oyster can filter. So if we substitute the values respectively, we would get 2.25 trillion times 50. So after multiplying, we would get the number of filtered gallons per day is 112.5 trillion gallons. So in one entire day, the 2.25 trillion oysters will filter 112.5 trillion gallons of water. So the last step is to determine whether or not the oysters can filter the whole Chesapeake Bay. So our final mathematical step is to compare the number of gallons filtered in one day, which is 112.5 gallons, to the size of the bay, which is 18 trillion gallons. We can clearly see that 112.5 gallons is greater than 18 trillion gallons. In other words, the number of gallons the oysters can filter per day is greater than the number of gallons in the Chesapeake Bay. So therefore, this answers the question that yes, there can be enough oysters to filter the whole Chesapeake Bay in one day. Every problem has a set of contextual elements that can be detailed further, and this may impact the results of the problem. We call these assumptions. If you have any additional time in the end, you may detail these further as needed. So here are some examples of assumptions for this prompt. So the first assumption would be immediate rounding of the number of oysters per acre to 3 million, rather than using the exact number, and this may lead to imprecise yet generally accurate answer. So the next assumption would be seasonality, environmental conditions, and climate change, and these factors may impact how many oysters exist and how much water is filtered. Just because each oyster can filter up to 50 gallons per day doesn't mean they will. We could dive deeper into this number and see if it's truly accurate when compared to the number produced. So now we can clearly state our final answer. So the number of gallons the oysters can filter per day, which is 112.5 trillion gallons, is greater than the number of gallons in the Chesapeake Bay, which is 18 trillion gallons. Therefore, the answer is yes, there can be enough oysters to fill the whole Chesapeake Bay in one day. So that wraps up our video and solution to the 2019 TJ exam. We do a lot of work in the TJ admission space, so for similar solutions, practice prompts, and complete instructional material on how to ace the TJ admissions process from end to end, we highly recommend working with us. We have a couple of different products that we offer: a small group coaching, a self-paced online course. Last year, we had an 81% admissions rate to TJ, and that's even higher for students with a 3.7 or above GPA. Another thing you can check out is a free resource, which is our admissions blog at tjtestprep.com/blog, and that includes special insights, tips, and tricks. If you're looking for more broad educational material, we also have our parent company, EduAvenues.com, and you can take a look at our mathematics, coding, and college admissions boot camps there. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at tjtestprep@eduavenues.com. Check out our blog at tjtestprep.com/blog, and if you like this video, please subscribe.